So welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom, and quick review or quick look at the Polish tier 6 40 TP tank. Supposedly a medium tank, but we'll talk about why that's a complete fallacy in a minute. So what to say about the Polish tech tree? God, it's disappointing. God, it's shit. Well, to be fair, up to tier 6. I can't say beyond that. I saw QuickyBaby did a video on the lower tier tanks, and I thought, well, you know, how much is he exaggerating, how much he's not. He's not exaggerating. So it seems to me the sole reason for this tech tree is, well, two reasons, I guess. One is that there's a huge Polish community in the game, and they want to keep them happy because they're leveraging players all over the place anyway, so keeping the Polish community happy by bringing them a new line is good. And you know, new tech tree is always good in my book, well, usually so. I love to see different nations, different tanks, different options. But the thing that he talked about, and I completely agree, is this tech tree seems to be solely developed to encourage you to use your free XP. The grind through this tech tree is friggin' awful. Plus, you've got the stupid arrangement, and this again pisses me off no end, is the fact you're changing from a light tank. Where's the last light tank? There's the last tank at tier 4, and then you change to being a medium tank at tier 5, tier 6, and then you change at tier 7 to being a heavy tank. So you either use your silver to convert your crew, in which case you're going to be even less effective in these pile of junks, or you use gold. And of course we know what Wargaming want you to use, and that's gold. If you look at the stock guns on all these tanks, they are just some of the worst guns I think I've ever encountered. I mean, they're just awful tanks. Awful. When they get to be fully upgraded, they're a little bit better. But I think my biggest annoyance with this tech tree so far, and it is a so far, right? I'm only up to tier 6, and I've only played, what, a dozen games at tier 6, is that the tanks don't seem to have a role to play. They're too slow to be light tanks. They're too slow to be flanking medium tanks. The gun handling is variable. Some of them it's pretty reasonable, but then the shell velocity is so slow on some of the lower tier tanks. You're like lobbing AP shells at people like you would with an HE, and that's really disappointing. And then the fact is, virtually none of them got any armor, so you're a slow medium with a lobby kind of gun, which would tend to predicate getting close to the enemy, but you've got no armor to survive if you do. Oh, and you haven't got any mobility to get around them very easily anyway, even if you did get up close. So what's the role of them? And that's the thing I've struggled, certainly in the last, well, tier 5 I found god-awful. In fact, I free XP'd a lot of that because it just became so painful to play. I forget which one it was. It was either the 3 or the 4 I actually quite enjoyed as a fully upgraded tank. But how often do you play 3 and 4, right? You know, you want to be from 5 upwards, really. Most people want to play here. So, anyway, enough whinging. So what about this tier 6? This is the 40 TP. Let's have a quick look and see if there's any details on it. I imagine middle of 1939. It was designed several projects considering the experiences of German. So it's supposed to take on the influence of German and Soviet engineers. Looks like they've chosen the worst of both, to be absolutely honest. One of these projects involved the Horstmann suspension, 60mm sloped armour, a small German turret, and a gun that featured high penetration and low recoil. Thus, he developed a tank that was supposedly the combination of a Panzer IV and a Soviet T-34. Development was discontinued when Poland was invaded in 1939, so they're never going to find out what a pile of doo-doo this tank is. So let's look at the quickly at the grind on this thing. Now, fortunately, if you've fully upgraded the previous tank, you will have the second gun, so that's something at least. You don't have to get this first gun, because look at that, 108mm of standard pen. Even if you hit the skill key, 125. That is friggin' awful. At least this gun is slightly better, 135 with 135 damage, but still not great. Now, the pain in the arse is to get the top turret, which you're going to need to get the 90mm gun, which is the only really workable gun on this tank. You're going to need the tracks. So the order of thing is, you will have the tier 6 gun unlocked. I think you'll have the tier 5 radio unlocked, not that that matters so much. But then the first upgrade is going to have to be your tracks. Then you can get the turret, then you can get the 90mm gun, and then if you're stupid like me, you go back and get the basic, the next engine, because the next engine doesn't add anything. Look at that, it's 400 engine power. This one is 450, so 50 engine power increase. Same fire chance, 20%. Oh, and it's another 50 tons as well, or 50 kg on top. So yeah, not the best, not the best. And I'm sort of almost into the point of calling this one of the worst tanks in the game. There you go, I said it. It's just horrible, and I'm sure people will be shouting at their screens and saying, Dom, you're an idiot, you're not playing it right. But I'm just saying, on my experience of playing this tank, I've now played 15 games in it, so it is early days, you know, but then I'm not far off. The moment I've ground through this, unless it improves rapidly, I'm going to get rid of it. So 15 games is all I've got to go on, but I'm struggling with this thing. I'm really struggling, and as I said before, I think it's largely down to the fact that I don't really know what role it plays. Its gun's not good enough for long range firing, its survivability is shite, and its mobility is even worse. So anyway, let's have a look. So I showed in the module thing, you can see the two guns that you're likely to have on this thing. Initially you're going to have that 75mm gun, the 75 WZ 3637, 13.3 rounds per minute, which is rather nice. Only 135 penetration. Bear in mind, this thing will tier 8s, and that's one of the things I've struggled with it. It sees tier 8s a lot. Certainly in my experience it has. And 135 penetration is okay if you can use mobility, but it ain't got that. 175 with the premium round, only 135 average damage. If you choose to fire HE, you're only doing 175 damage with that. So dispersion 0.38, aim time 2.1, but it's very lobby, very lobby. We'll have a look in a minute on Tanks GG if we can see the shell velocity, but it doesn't feel very good at all. So you want to get onto this 90mm gun, and as I say, you need to get that top turret to get it. This 90mm WZ 3990 is actually not bad at all. I'm quite enjoying this. 7.06 rounds per minute it's a big gun, so that's what you'd expect. 156 penetration, 198 if you hit the skill rounds, which is a little bit more usable. 45 with HE, 240 average damage makes it a little bit more serious as a gun. 320 with HE. Dispersion's a bit horrible, which is why I'm running a gun lane drive. 0.4 dispersion is not great for your aiming, and 2.7 aim time. Sorry, that's why I'm using the that's why I'm using the gun lane drive. Gun lane doesn't help dispersion, it only helps aim time. 2.7 aim time. So it takes a little while to aim in, which again is one of its challenges, because with very little armor, you've got to sort of try and acquire a target and wait for the gun to load in before you really have a chance to blast. So you can see here that I've got a pretty reasonable crew. They're just halfway through their second skills. Haven't got brothers in arms yet, but they have got the basic skills. I am doing what's my DPM with a gun rammer is 1963, which is nothing special at all. Dispersion is down to 0.38, aim time down to 2.3, 2.36 actually. So you know, kind of nice. -8 gun depression is reasonable. Turret traverse of 38.59 feels a lot worse when you're using it, and that's one of the things I've noticed. The stats on this don't seem terrible, but when you actually play it, it seems to play an awful lot worse than its stats. I don't know why that is. Survivability 750 hit points is nothing special. Hull armor 90, 40, 35. Ugh. And turret, and this is the upgraded turret. The basic turret gives you 75, 50, 35. The top turret gives you 130, 60, 40. Now I have bounced some shells off the turret, certainly from lower tier tanks, so yes, that can be reasonably effective, but you've got this big old boil on the top here. But let's hop over to Tanks GG and see what we can see on the armor profile. So here we are in Tanks GG. I mean, sadly something's not quite right here. Something is definitely not right here. Yeah, anyway, you can see there's something wrong with the rendering of the model. I don't know why. I've been on it several times. It seems to be like this all the time, so there's something wrong at their end, but at least we can see some of the armor profiles here. Lower plate here, 29. It goes up to 100 if you're lucky. Turret front 130, 130. Yeah, you're not really going to bounce an awful lot in this. The gun itself, you might get lucky, but really there's just nothing here. Well, literally nothing here in this case. So if actually when I went around the back, you could see. Now, if that's correct, there's 160 or so if it's angled. Yeah, so that's 110 actual armor. So that middle plate there that would be here is about 100 and, well, it's 110. If you angle it right, you can get up to 200. And the lower bit, 50. So really, this thing, armor-wise, well, it might as well be nothing, to be honest. So this is the area that I'm really disappointed more than anything else in this tank is its mobility. As I say, on the surface it looks pretty reasonable. We've got a weight of just over 40 tons. Engine power is only 450 with the top engine, and say 400 with the stock, giving it a power ratio of 11.12. It is so painfully slow, and the ground resistances on it, and because of that power, if you go up a slope, well, I've got a game coming up and I'll show you. Going up a slope, you just virtually stop. I mean, it's supposed to do 50 kph. I don't know how it does 50. Maybe when you're coming downhill you might get somewhere near 50, but when you're going up a hill, you're lucky to get 10. It is just awful, and that's my biggest upset with this tank. If it had a bit more speed, better ground resistances, at least you could use it a bit more aggressively. As it is, it feels like a very turgid, slow tank destroyer that gets that has a very loopy, slow loading gun, and that's disappointing. Hull traverse 44 is actually pretty reasonable, so should be better than it is. Concealment values, well, I haven't got any bonuses on this thing at all, so this is how it comes out the box. 13.21 stationary and not firing. So I guess you might get up to 20 if you got a decent concealment crew and put some camo on it, but it's quite a big tank, so it's not going to be that good. And of course, with a 90mm gun, the moment you fire, you are going to be spotted. View range, we've got what's that? 360 is your basic view range, which is, yeah, it's okay. I put coated optics. I'm seriously thinking about swapping them out and putting vents on this tank, because I was thinking, mediums with coated optics are quite good when you can get forward and spot things, but this thing can't get forward and spot things, so it's quite pointless really putting coated optics. And I think in fact I definitely will be swapping. Let me swap them out now while I think about it, because that is just pointless. I like to have coated optics on my tanks, particularly my mediums, but also my heavies increasingly, because you do far better spotting for yourself. But that's fine if you're in front. But this thing is not in front. Now, how's that helped our firepower? Dispersion down to 0.38 and aim time of 2.3. Absolutely, our DPM is now over the 2000, so maybe that's the solving all the problems. But now we've lost spotting. We're down to 368. Anyway, there you go. Big disappointment. But let's see it in action. So first up, we've got a game that I recorded just to show the mobility or lack of it. So here we go. We're on Live Oaks. Let's see what this Polish tank can do. Right off the bat, it gets away reasonably quickly. You know, it's no speedster, that is for sure. We're on Live Oaks. It's a tier 8 game. Now, I have to say, one of the other things, it may be just pure coincidence, but I have been getting quite a lot of bottom tier action, or at least middle tier action. Very, very limited top tier. I don't know whether Wargaming have a sort of tiering of tanks, you know, sort of a weighting for who's top and who's bottom and who's middle tier. But it just seems like there are some tanks that almost always get bottom tier or middle tier and never get top tier. Maybe just conspiracist in me. So we're heading down on the south flank, which is... I mean, we've got 8 degrees of gun depression, and what armour there is on this tank is on the turret. However, we are bottom tier, which is where all the good players tend to go for their snarl ups. And I wafted that shot badly, didn't I? The acceleration is god awful. Now look at the aim time on that. I had to take that shot quickly because the A43 was pulling back, and you can see if you aim this gun it's not too bad, and actually the shell velocity at this tier is far better than some of the lower tiers. Some of the lowers you're waiting for an hour for the damn thing to get there. Here we go, another chance on that A43. Nice hit. See, when you aim it in, good, but you got to fully aim it in to have any chance of getting the shot away. So my team are going balls deep on the Progetto, and I'm kind of being left behind. I'm a medium and I can't keep up. Look at this, I'm trawling. I mean, you hit any kind of bad terrain and you might as well be driving in treacle. Now I'm going up a slope. Oh my god, do they not have hills in Poland? I've never been to Poland. I'd always like to go, but I'm just wondering, judging by this tank's performance, whether it just is a completely flat country, because this thing can't climb. None of these tanks I've encountered so far are any good at going up any kind of slope or even going to bad terrain. I know from my history they have swamps and all sorts of things in Poland, but aim. That one I didn't fully aim, but nice hit all the same. Not bad damage. 236 for a tier 6 tank, not bad. Can I get another one in him? Is he going to give me a chance? This game has been a rollover. 7-1. Nice shot again. He just baited himself. Yeah, he just wasted his hit points there, really. Poking out repeatedly in the same place. And I knew he was going to do it again, because he was going to do it again. And I did it to him again. This time he's learnt his lesson. Or has he? So I'm going to move forward. But you can't exploit really quickly. You're a slow medium. You're like... This reminds me so much driving style of a Super Pershing, but without the fantastic gun and armour. So you're really, really slow, and it's only really slow because of that, what is it, 450 horsepower engine. Look at this, I'm just crawling along. Oh, it's so painful when you're driving this thing, and the game's just going on around me, and I can't influence it because I can't get there. Now I'm going to have to go up a slope. Oh, look at this, I'm dropping to, what's that, 10 kph I seem to remember I got to on this. This is a replay, obviously. Yeah, I mean, just so painful. And whatever good it is as a gun platform kind of is lost in the fact it just can't get anywhere. I mean, when you're on a flat surface, yeah, okay, it's got quite reasonable speed. It's not very heavy, hasn't got any armour, so you actually can move around quite quickly. Never a target there. But on this sort of terrain, especially when you're chasing the enemy like we are here, you know, you just no chance of keeping up and being able to do significant damage. So I'm just going to hop on the cap because that's all I can do. But I'm going to leave this game in because it just illustrates how poor the mobility is. But we win. Okay, so that was a win. But you can see just in that game how friggin' hard it is to keep up. You're a medium tank, for God's sake. You should be able to keep up with the other mediums, or even the goddamn heavies or TDs. I mean, on a flat or heading down a hill, this thing can move. And, you know, so I am fully upgraded with this vehicle. It's not like it's completely stock. To be honest, there's virtually no difference between the stock engine and the upgraded engine anyway. But this thing, if you've got a hill or any kind of dodgy ground, yeah, you just kiss the game goodbye. And that kind of rolling engagement where everything's rushing around like crazy, oh, hell, it's hard to actually contribute to the game. I mean, the gun handling is reasonably good, so that's the positive on it. But boy, oh, that was hard work. Oh, and I thought, you know, I did as well as I could there, and then I... what do we get there? Father Effect badge, finished up, middle of the team, 759 damage, 443 base XP, 6 hits, 6 shots, 3 hits, 3 pens for that 700 damage, nearly 20,000 credits, 18,000 profit. The shell cost is pretty minimal, which is good, and 1,330 XP with the crew. So anyway, let's try another one. Okay, so this time we're on Properovka. It's a tier 8 game. See what I said about always being, almost always being bottom or middle tier in this tank. I don't know why, just one of those lucky things, I guess. So normally I would go up the hill. I would go up to the 9-0 line in a tank like this. But with that speed, there's just absolutely no point. I wouldn't get there before the hill was either decided one way or another, so it's just pointless. So I'm going to head out to the middle instead. Not the best place for me, but yeah. Now, case in point, look at this. Beside me, let me just pull out. That's a T-29. He's going faster than me. He's going faster than me. He's a heavy tank. I'm a light tank. I'm a medium tank even. You know, just the mobility of this thing is god awful. Keep banging on about it. I'm sorry about that. Sorry, the bit of a blurring of the picture. I'm not quite sure why that is. I've been trying to re-record it, but it just doesn't seem to want to play. I'm wondering when my PC's kind of had its day. We shall see. But now this game is not the finest by any means, but I quite like it because it shows, well, again, how poor the mobility is of this, and actually how pretty good the gun is if you allow it to aim. Even at distance. Let's see this Cromwell, can we hit him? Yeah, WoT did that. I could see he was dropping and I just took the shot anyway. So, allow it to aim and it seems pretty good. Don't allow it to aim and you just sort of hit and hoping, really. Chances of getting a strike are pretty minimal. Now this game is dominated by appalling scout play. You know, just awful. Our Type 64, to be fair, does a little bit. Their AMX 12 ton, look where he is. He's down there at D6, doing absolutely no use to his team at all. And so you're having to use things like a Super Pershing and a Cromwell out on their flank to try and scout, which is just stupid. Anyway, I have actually got pretty good view range now in this thing. So I'm just getting up here, and I know that there isn't much that can see me, really. There's that Super Pershing. Can we hit him? Nice. Hit his tracks, I think. Did we track him? Possibly. Nice. 200 hit. 220 average damage, so yeah, not too bad. Well, that shell went way over. There's the accuracy. Mind you, I'm firing at a long way. Don't know what that is. Nearly 450 yards, something like that. Almost outside render range. And I've done quite a lot of damage to that Super Pershing. And he's a tier 8 tank, so that means I've done well this game, whatever happens. Because I'm a tier 6 and he's a tier 8. And you get bonus points for killing or doing damage to lower or higher tier tanks. Their scout is now down. I wafted that. I didn't really think through where exactly he would be because that wall was in the way. That was stupid. However, there's a KV4, but he dies before I can get shot away. So you know, the time it takes to acquire the target, it makes this gun a little bit tricky. It's really a platform gun. It feels like the sort of tank that you just move forward, get into a position, and just hope that you can keep firing for as long as possible. SU-100 hit him quite hard. Good RNG there. 235 hit. And this game is just all over already. I mean, the enemy team has done nothing. Absolutely nothing. To be fair, they haven't had a chance. Of course, it's one of the maps. This map is one of the maps where having a decent scout is absolutely essential to the success of the team. And they didn't. They had an awful scout. I get a cheap kill there for 46. But hey, I'll take it. Didn't even get spotted there, I don't think. Which surprised me, which means they must be quite a long way back. But I thought that T-34-1 would spot me as I shot him. Clearly not. Our Type 64 seems determined to go after the artillery. So I'm thinking, well, what do I do now? I haven't done very much. I've been very passive, but that seems to be the game style of this tank. If you like a medium that likes to get into a position and then just use its gun, then this is probably the one for you. Don't expect to get there quickly though. Here we go again, and there's a dreaded hill coming. I got spotted there, which is, I can't work that one out. I must have got spotted as I came down the slope. So I've got to try and do a bit of window wander, because there are two artillery around the place, so it's got to be careful, got to be very careful. So I'm hoping I've convinced them I'm moving forward. There goes our Type 64, so we've now got no light tank ourselves. There was only one aside. So I'm going to try. I'm worried about whether that Crusader SP is still where he was, and if memory serves, he was a very good player. There's a very good Hellcat as well, so I get spotted the moment I jump up there, and it's because he's to my left. If you notice, he's there. I didn't notice until the last minute. There he is. So I'm getting spotting damage, so I'm not desperate to put my head up, because I got the spotting damage for that, so that's all goodness and light. I didn't have to take any risk. He missed me with his shot, and he was creamed after I spotted him, so that's cool. So is there anything else up here? Oh, there's a T-150. Did he spot me? Can't be him. No, mate. Well, oh no, there's a VK there as well. So there's a VK and a K. Well, there was a T-150 and a VK there. Now the gun depression on this is, oof, Artie just absolutely mullered me. Yeah, that wasn't so good. I've lost my loader. I do find a lot of crew die in this thing. Another cheap kill, 40 TP taken down. Repair him with the loader, patch him up, send him back out. I'm doing nothing particularly special here, but I'm just illustrating the gun handling. There you go again. And this game is done and dusted. I mean, to be honest, it was done and dusted the moment their scout just showed he was incompetent, really. 9 times out of 10, if you've got a half-decent scout and they've got a terrible scout on this map, you will win. So I'm just looking for some cheap damage here. Should have gone for the Hellcat initially, but I get him anyway. It was a cheap kill, and that's it. Game over. GG. DD? GG. Okay, so that game was a bit of an oddity, really. I mean, the enemy scout was incompetent, and there was only one scout aside. But even so, you got to see a little bit more of how this tank plays. But clearly people are playing it well, because that was a pretty good result, and that was only a second class, so what do I know? Maybe I'm just incompetent in this thing, but I'm just struggling like a buggery. So second class, Reaper, Spotter, Fighter, Big Dick, and Fire for Effect. Oops. Finish up third on the team, 1500 damage, 4 kills, 886 base XP. 15 shots fired, hit with 10, penned with 9. Took 2 hits, both of which penned me, but got a 1100 assistance damage. Should really have... Again, you see, I took the coated optics off. If I'd had them on, maybe I would have done more spotting, in which case maybe I would have got more damage and more experience and credits, but it is what it is. 34,000 credits after cost, 25,000 profit with a premium account, would have been just over 14 without, and 1,329 experience, would have been 886 with not with a premium account. So there you go. That was what did I get there? Oh, part of my hard. Anybody else think that's ironic? Hard and demanding labour in a Polish tank. Just me. Anyway, I'll do some tokens. Good. All right. So how to sum this thing up? It's supposed to be, what did they say, the mixture between a Panzer IV and a T-34. It's like they're taking the worst elements of both of those. The gun's alright. It's okay. If you get a chance to let it aim in, it's pretty good. There's some nice alpha there for a tier 6. Penetration's okay. But it's that mobility. It's just that complete and utter lack of mobility coupled with a lack of armour that makes this thing a bit of a nightmare to play, for me at least. I mean, maybe others will find it easier, but for me, I played now 22 games. Shows how many games I tried to play to get you some decent ones to look at. 22 games, and yeah, I'm running a 68% win rate in it, averaging, what's that, 612 damage per game. Nothing spectacular, but you know, in fact, nothing at all spectacular. That's pretty damn awful, 612 for a tier 6. But I'm struggling with it. It just doesn't seem to have an easy role to play on the battlefield. Give it a bit more speed, you could play it like a fast medium. Give it a bit more armor, you could play it like a more steady Eddie medium. Give it a better high velocity gun, you could play it as a sniper. It kind of just doesn't do any of those, and if you get a hill, you are gonna really struggle with the pace of this thing. Dropping to 10 kph from supposedly 50 is a little bit awful. So anyway, that's my look at the the 40 TP, this new Polish medium tank at tier 6. If you're not grinding this line, unless you're an absolute diehard and you haven't got any other, nothing else to grind at the moment, my advice would be leave this tech tree well alone. It's just not very good so far. We'll see when I get further up the tech tree, maybe. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a like, and if you've been playing down the Polish line and you think I'm talking a load of dingo's kidneys, let me know in the comments down below. Love to know what you're thinking about the Polish tanks too. In the meantime, enjoy your games, have fun, try not to take it too seriously, and I'll see you again soon. This is GamerDom signing out.